Okay, how many of you hate all the mushy, lovey-dovey stuff that goes along with Valentine's Day, right? Maybe you're single or you're just not feeling it this year. And, everybody likes chocolate, but some people get a little tired of the romance. So for Valentine's Day this year, I thought it would be fun to do 3 books that aren't all lovey-dovey, lovey-dovey. Just, there's maybe a little bit of romance, but there's more to the book than just that. So hi everyone, welcome to Book Talks with Miss Thomas. If you're new here or returning and you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let me know you're interested in my content. I typically upload on Wednesdays and Sundays and sometimes Friday, but definitely Sundays and Wednesdays. All right, so now let's get into it. I want to talk about some books that are nice for Valentine's Day. I like to get into the season, but not, super romance. So the first one I'm going to talk about is actually 2 books in one. It's a 2-for-1, and it's called The Valentine Murder, and it has 2 different murder mysteries that take place around Valentine's Day. And I want to say the author's name is pronounced Leslie. It looks to me just like Meier, except spelled differently. Maybe it's Meier. I'm going to go with Meier. But in this book, there are 2 different romances. And the first one is called The Valentine Murder. And the second one is called The Chocolate-Covered Murder. And they feature this woman named Lucy. And Lucy is a stay-at-home mom. She's a reporter for a newspaper when she gets the time. She's like a freelance reporter for the local news. It's not like something really intense. And she also is on the board at the library, the local library. So she takes her youngest daughter to the library while the other kids are at school when a murder occurs. The librarian is murdered in the basement of the library. And so Lucy begins to investigate the case because she's on the board and she's concerned about the librarian, and she just has a vested interest. And if you know anything about your typical fluffy mystery type book, the police, of course, very much resent Lucy's investigating the murder. They're not much help. And of course, she's going to be the one to crack the case. So it's kind of a classic mystery in that regard. It was a pretty fluffy, light read, but it was fun. And it had a lot of descriptions of Maine. It was very snowy and cold. It had some descriptions of the community. The people were very quaint, and, they all seemed to know each other, kind of community. And it had some nice pictures of home, Lucy at home with her family. And she had a nice husband too. I liked the aspect of her husband, like being a happily married woman with a family, and her husband was just kind of fun, and he made a nice addition to the book. And another thing I really liked about it was she had this best friend. She had this fun best friend, and they go shopping, and Lucy buys an outfit for a Valentine's Day dinner. So if you like that kind of book with like the friendships and the cozy neighborhoods and the different characters, then I think you would like, Valentine Murder. It's 2 books, but the first book was called, I think it's simply called Valentine Murder. Valentine Murder, yeah. So it was a sweet book. And the suspects for the murder would include like the local contractor who's known to cut corners. There's a local lawyer. There's the woman who's a local caterer, and she's very aloof and unfriendly. And there's some interesting characters in the book. And so you kind of have to figure out which one is capable of killing the librarian. And by the way, nobody seems to like the librarian. You find out, I thought that was a little bit funny. You find out that the librarian gossips about everybody. As they check out their books. If somebody's reading a book about self-improvement or something, she would turn it into a rumor and tell everybody, oh, that person checked out this book. This must be what's going on in their lives, kind of thing. And I thought that was a little bit funny. So the next one is called I think it's called Chocolate Covered Murder. And same character, Lucy, same community, but this time she's writing a piece about chocolate. And there's a woman who works in a chocolatier. It's called the Chanticleer Chocolate Store, or it's the baker of the Chanticleer chocolate, and she's very unfriendly and ends up murdered. And so there's a lot of you know, interesting stuff in that book too, where the different people either don't like that woman or had some kind of thing with a woman. So to find out who killed the unpleasant chocolate lady is also a mystery that you may find interesting. So it was a fun little Valentine's Day book, two Valentine's Day mysteries. I think I would have to say I prefer Joanne Fluke, though, given a choice, but it was interesting. I wanted to check out a new and different author. But honestly, 2 weeks from now, I probably won't remember the book. It wasn't like a riveting, life-changing book, but it was a fun little Valentine's Day read. Now, one book that I probably will remember for years to come that I read, I think it's a nice Valentine's Day book, would be Emily of Deep Valley by Maud Hart Lovelace. I really enjoyed this book. Kate Howe picked this book for her Kindred Spirits book club, and I was invited to a Russian tea with my sister that day. It was really neat. We went to this restaurant and they served Russian snacks and different types of teas that would be popular in Russia. And I enjoyed that time with my sister, but I missed out on the discussion of this book. So I was disappointed I didn't get to attend that discussion, but I had a wonderful, wonderful day with my sister instead. And those are important times and memories. But let me tell you about this book. Okay, so Emily of Deep Valley is about a girl who is about to graduate from high school in the class of 1913. So this is a period piece, timepiece, and she is living with her grandfather. Her parents have passed on, and so she's living with her grandfather, and she's very successful in high school. She's a very academic young lady, and she has, the world at her feet. But she graduates from high school, and her friends are all going off to college, and she doesn't go off to college because she doesn't want to leave her grandfather behind, because she's the only family he has left, and he's her family. And so she's a little sad that she doesn't get to go off to college and do all these wonderful things with all the other friends from high school. And she's in a group of friends. She has, I think it's a cousin, another girl who does go off to college, and she joins the sororities, and, she gets all these wonderful things, and she brings Emily along to her dress fittings. And I guess the cousin's mother would be Emily's aunt. She always thinks of Emily and includes Emily, but Emily is still, always on the outside looking in, because this cousin is going off to college, and she's going to be in the sororities, and she's got all these beautiful clothes and all these wonderful things. And Emily sort of feels left out, like, she doesn't have her parents, and she doesn't want to go off and leave her grandfather. She wants desperately to go off. I mean, she wants to go away to college, but she just chooses her grandfather instead. And so she's a little bit sad and a little bit at a loss of what to do with herself and what to do with her life. And, she stays home with her grandfather, and they have a wonderful parade in the community where it's like a veterans parade. It's a memorial parade where they clean up everyone's graves and parade to the graves and lay flowers. And it's a really big deal to her grandfather because he's a war veteran. And she loves her grandfather. And she's sad, though, about the life that she's missing, the college life. So Emily finds a way in her small community with her grandfather where she's feeling left behind. She starts to find things in her community to build a new life for herself. Maybe not the life she envisioned, but a life that's definitely wonderful and worthwhile. And she becomes involved in the lives of these immigrants, these Syrian children and their parents. They live in the community, but the parents aren't real fluent in English. And so Emily starts trying to teach them how to speak English, and she becomes very involved in the lives of the Syrian people living in her community. And that was a really nice thing to see, the way that she befriends them and tries to support the little small community of the Syrians within her community. It was very lovely. And she makes some friends along the way that are, her age, that she can identify with, that, aren't going off to college and living the life that she thought was right for her. So she finds a different life that turns out to be very, very lovely. And so I really loved this book, Emily of Deep Valley. So those are my 3 recommendations for Valentine's Day reads that aren't, all about that, lovey-dovey, smoochy stuff. I think there's a lot more to Valentine's Day. There's love and beauty and friendship, and all of those things can be celebrated with or without the romance. So I hope you are reading and having a wonderful February. Bye for now.